This is exactly how I went from feeling tired and fatigued to waking up at 6:30 a.m. every single morning, to increasing my testosterone to the point where my voice got deeper in less than like 6 months, to actually starting some side hustles so I can achieve some level of freedom. Let me tell you, this is completely life changing. So I figured out that this was more of a mental health issue because I had a lot of similar characteristics to like the depressed people that exist. Imagine you know a crackhead called John. John is a serial crackhead.
Well, I need you
Serial
bad,
crackhead. He
man.
lives on the streets. He can't function like a regular human being, and he legitimately needs crack every single day to survive. Now, as I mentioned, John is a crackhead. And so let's say one day John gets stripped of all his crack, okay? He has no crack that day. He can't afford it, and so he can't buy crack that day. And so let's say John goes an entire day without crack. Will John end up being okay and like all healthy? Or will his body react in a certain way? Because I can tell you right now, if John doesn't get his crack that day, his body will give him repercussions. His body will have the most insane amount of withdrawal symptoms that you've ever seen just because he didn't get crack that day. That's how stimulated he is, and that's what he needs to function. And so, let's say John goes a few days without crack. This is dangerous territory. This is where we talk about life and death because John's addiction to crack is so high that, first of all, he's gonna have risk of legitimately dying because he doesn't have crack. And number two, he will go into severe depression because everything else is mundane, everything else is sad because it doesn't feel the same as crack. And so it's the same with our brains. Whenever we scroll, whenever we play video games, whenever we do highly stimulating activities, yeah, sure, it's not the same level as crack. At the end of the day, it works the same way as drugs because these are all addictive things. Whenever we just overindulge in video games and scrolling, and whenever we don't use any of these activities for a certain period of time, your body will start to give in. Everything will feel boring, everything will feel sad and mundane, and eventually you will fall into depression. But the scary part is, will you let your life live like this forever? I mean, how much more can we scroll? And how many more video games can we actually play to feed our pleasure? I'm just here thinking, if I got, like, for example, like Team of the Year, Cristiano Ronaldo or something in FIFA, if you play FIFA, you probably know what that is. If I got the best Cristiano Ronaldo card in FIFA, how much would that actually affect my reality? Because you walk every day knowing that you're so good at FIFA and you have the best people and the best team, but then you walk every single day in your campus in university, or you walk to work every single day knowing that you having and you being the best FIFA player literally made no difference to your life. Your life is still sad. You're not where you want to be. You're not making the same level of money you want to be, and honestly, you're not in the shape that you want to be. So everything else is sad, and the only happiness you get is FIFA because that's the only place that you feel accomplished in. So even if you do feel accomplished in FIFA, you still haven't really achieved anything in reality, which is why we feel depressed. Since nothing in our life is fun, we distract ourselves with pleasure to feed the emptiness that we live in. Listen, I wanted to be jacked at the gym, but I fed myself Nutella. I'm not even kidding. If you don't believe me, it doesn't matter. I fed myself Nutella every single day. I ate tubs of ice creams all by myself. I'm talking about an entire tub of chocolate ice cream. I used to eat that while playing games, while watching games, and all of this stuff backfired on me because one day I looked at myself at the mirror and I was disgusted. I was so fat. I was so lazy. No good marks in school. Nothing because I spent no time studying. And all of this was self-inflicted, and which led to hate. I hated myself, which legitimately what is depression. Imagine you needed to enter a room and your child is stuck in that room and it's a burning building. And the only way to enter that room is to open and get a special key. There's no way you can break the door, you can't do anything. That special key is discomfort. Meaning the only way you get out of this misery, the only way that you'll, hit your goals is legitimately by feeling discomfort. You cannot avoid it, and there is no other way. We live in a world where we expect stuff and we expect to achieve our goals with no discomfort, with no effort at all. It's just gonna come to us in a pleasurable way. But then you realize that then everyone would be millionaires and successful. But then if everyone was successful, then no one would be successful, because then successful would have no meaning. So you have to realize that the only reason why there are people that are called successful is because they were successful at going through the discomfort. While most people, they fail to go through it, or they don't even try. And so just know that if you are thinking about leaving this life of misery, of depression, of feeling tired, you will have discomfort, but that also tells you that you're on the right path. So let's get into the successful dopamine detox system. This is the key to stripping yourself away from these stimulating activities, these quote unquote drugs, so you can finally look at life, look outside your window, look at a bird flying, and find that amusing. Look at the sky, it's all orange because it's sunset. You will find that amusing. Maghrib time, that will be your amusing moment compared to, I don't know what you do on the phone. However, I want you to do one thing. I want you to do instead of try. You're not going to try to go on this dopamine detox. Rather, you are going to go on a dopamine detox. Meaning, this is your identity. The reason why most people they fail to stay in discomfort is because they try to do it. And then whenever it gets hard, they give up, right? But you have to do it. Don't try it. Because if the moment you say, I tried, that's the moment you're going to fail, because you're giving yourself an option to fail. You're giving yourself an excuse. Oh, I tried to get an A+. It's either you get the A+ or you don't, right? And so I want you to go on a dopamine detox. This is your lifestyle now. You are a disciplined person who will become a more disciplined person to get out of this life. All right? Reduce 90% of your instant gratification activities. As you know, instant gratification is literally what will make you tired and depressed. As I said earlier, this is what will lead to it. Things like scrolling, things like video games, things like watching random YouTube videos, things like watching YouTube shorts and TikToks. Like, this stuff is so useless. You gain nothing from it. You're just feeding yourself pleasure, right? But then that pleasure will lead to more depression, which is not pleasure then, right? So reduce these things and honestly get rid of it. And you want to get rid of it for around 2 weeks. This is my 2-week challenge to you. This is your 2-week challenge. You want to get rid of this stuff for 2 weeks, but also you want to be replacing this stuff with more better activities that will actually make you happy. Things like reading books, things like getting sunlight, literally touching grass will make you happy. Things like praying your salahs, things like learning about the Islam, learning about deen, things like, there's so many things you can do which will make you a lot more happier. You need to remove these things and sacrifice these things at least for 2 weeks or as much as you can. So let's say you've removed these things, let's say you replace them with better habits like watching podcasts and reading books and, things that are not really stimulating, if that makes sense. Then I recommend adding some friction. Delete your Instagram, log out, maybe deactivate your account, that's better. Delete your TikTok profile, deactivate that, that's better. And also have some app blockers as well, just in case. So this is my 2-week challenge to you. Go on a dopamine detox. Also, I recommend implementing a morning routine, which I'll leave a description down below to a video that I created for a morning routine. And as my camera died, I'll leave a link in the description to a video I made for a morning routine. Follow a 2-week morning routine. All right, so make sure that you have the morning routine ready. Make sure that you reduce 90% of your stimulating activities for 2 weeks and replace them with things like journaling, mindfulness, salah, just reading more books and watching podcasts. Do those things instead. Reduce your instant gratification activities and also having morning routines. So when you wake up in the morning, instead of going to scroll right away, rather do something like have a set morning routine. Just watch the video. But I recommend things like, of course, praying your salah, praying fajr, journaling, and meditating. Do these 3 things in the morning, and I'm telling you right now, in 2 weeks, everything will change. All right. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully benefited. Assalamu alaikum.